divide us, a movement that gives us strength when the far right and the Zionists are growing numbers and confidence worldwide. We stand here today because any form of racism is not one community's problem. Only unity will drive out racism. We give strength to others and we use our voices too. Standing against racism means standing against xenophobia, Islamophobia, and anti-Semitism. Standing together means standing against genocide and Zionism. According to Michael Gove, we are extremists because we are demanding a ceasefire in Gaza. Successive government ministers have attempted to demonize these protests as hate mongers, Islamist mobs, and anti-Semites. The reality is that these protests are overwhelmingly peaceful and attended by a broad cross-section of society, young and old, of all faiths and none. It is a government that is eroding rights. We are protesting to protect democratic rights at home and respect for international law globally. It is the government that is pursuing an agenda which seeks to confine the Muslim community to the margins of democratic society. It is a government which has run roughshod over the rule of law, illegally proroguing parliament, illegally planning to send asylum seekers to Rwanda, and whose MPs have deliberately exacerbated racism and Islamophobia. We will not allow Gove's intervention to distract us from standing in solidarity with a people confronting genocide, ethnic cleansing, occupation, and apartheid. Today, all struggles for human rights and equality converge on Palestine, the state of Palestine. It is a litmus test of our morality, our humanity, and our conscience. We shout, "Free Palestine!" because their struggle is our struggle. Just as in South Africa, we free South Africa, and we will free the state of Palestine against this ragtag bunch of Zionists. We stand here to condemn the shameful bias of the BBC in playing down the actual suffering and slaughter taking place in Gaza. They have so little shame that even when it came to South Africa to present its case of genocide against Israel, the BBC did not show it. Shame on you, BBC, shame on you. They call themselves journalists, but they're just weasel covers swallowing press releases coming straight out of Israel. But Gaza taught us what real journalists are, like Motaz, Bissan, Wael, and many others. Last month, an employment tribunal ruled that Professor David Miller suffered direct discrimination after Bristol University dismissed him because of his anti-Zionist beliefs. Well, do you know what? Anti-Zionism under the law qualifies as a philosophical belief, and you have every right to practice your anti-Zionism because it's a protected characteristic under this country's equality legislation. So you can tell those Zionists where to go, that ragtag little bunch of Zionists. This is a significant blow for the so-called small Zionists, the little Zionists, who have been targeting and retaliating against professors, journalists and others who have criticised the actions of Israeli government and accusing them of being anti-Semitic. We must not conflate Zionism with the highly ethical religion of Judaism. Hajo Meyer, Holocaust survivor and physicist, said, "The Zionists have given up everything which has to do with humanity and empathy. They are the equivalent of the Nazis. Judaism is universal and humane. Zionism is directly the opposite. Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill." The last 6 months has left us desensitized. It has also taught us how 2.3 million people have been taken hostage, bombed and starved, with no safe zone or any way of escape. More bombs have been dropped on Gaza than all the bombs that were dropped on Iraq in 6 years. How our so-called political leaders have been taken hostage as well, because they can't bring themselves to condemn Israel openly. Ask them where they said, are they bought and sold by the Zionists? And it has taught us how we have become hostages out of fear of being labelled anti-Semitic if we speak up. Our silence is their weapon. South Africa and Yemen serve as the conscience of the world. Forevermore, and until justice is served, the word Israel is synonymous with a criminal record going back at least 75 years, consisting of land theft, blockades, dead babies in incubators, and burnt buildings. That's what Israel is synonymous with. That's what we think of when you hear that word. The hope we have is in people coming together. That includes hundreds of Jewish people attending these protests. The Jewish Bloc, Scottish Jews Against Genocide, Jewish Voices for Peace,
Mate, I've followed him around for the last half an hour.
Good for you. You're so smart.
Motaz Aziza,
okay.
Norman Finkelstein, Gideon Levy, Ilan Papi, Amira Haas, Greta Thunberg, Gaston Abusita, who I hope becomes a rector and is scheduled to become the rector of Glasgow University. Aaron Bushnell and the US forces who said they would not be complicit in a genocide. And of course, those former Israeli soldiers who have chosen to break the silence. Our collective silence, brothers and sisters, led to this mass silence. Our collective voice will end that ragtag bunch of Zionists and that piece of crap that is Israel. Never again means now. Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Thank you so much, Rubina. We're now going to move.
Oh, I don't think he's a problem until I touch you and I'm not touching you.
I'm glad.
I'm not
Dr.
sure.
Racism, we're very proud of our support and
I've not touched a single bone area in your body.
So
Like, you just need to hit that hit big there.
I know, but I didn't.
One of the first
I'm sorry, but it's her fault.
Here. I want you to
It is, it's her fault.
You're in control of your own pole.
who is
You're not.
representing Unison Scotland. Davina.
Can I start by thanking everyone for coming out today?
Hello. How are you doing? Fine. How are you doing?
For our continuing commitment to fighting the racists and to standing up for those who have no voice in Palestine. I'd like to start by reaffirming my and Unison's condemnation of the violence that has taken place and has been escalating in the Middle East since October 7th. Unison, on behalf of our 1.4 million members, continue to call for an immediate ceasefire to the war in Gaza. We're also calling for the creation and the protection of a safe and stable state for Palestinians. We need that now. We know that there will be a general election soon, and whenever it is called, we need to get rid of the foul UK government and its hostile environment. Their policies have been proven to be illegal.
Really?
Their attempts to deport migrants to Rwanda, the creation of the hostile environment, the continual flirtation with the far right has done nothing but given the conditions for racism to flourish throughout the UK. Taking the lead from far-right governments around the world, we have consistently put policies that sought to stigmatise and scapegoat migrants and black people. They've sought to draw attention away from their failures. They've failed our communities. They've failed our economy.
All you're doing is drawing attention to me. All you're doing is drawing attention to me. It's so silly. Like a wee baby.
Of course, that's the problem. We're the problem.
No, you're the problem.
He's donated £15 million. He's paid £135 million to NHS contracts. That's £135 million that he's been used to keep patients and pay staff a decent wage. The £15 million talks about Rishi Sunak's silence. He was exceedingly slow to condemn those racist and misogynistic comments. Diane Abbott was the first ever black woman elected to Westminster. She has kicked in doors for other black women like me to follow behind her. This attack on her is shocking and it needs to be condemned. If we allow people like Frank to get away with his horrendous comments because he is rich, they will allow everyone else. That means women workers that we represent go to work in fear. They fear being attacked by their patients, their clients. We need to stand together and fight racism. I reiterate Unison's full solidarity for this march. I'm glad to see so many people here. We need a free Palestine and we need to end end racism now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Davina. It's absolutely brilliant that we have this number of speakers here. And I just also now want to say again to those idiots to my right, you really are a bunch of jokers and clowns. Shouting down a black woman, that's a really great way to display your anti-racism. You are scum. You don't speak for anti-racism and you don't speak for Palestine. Okay, I now want to say a particular welcome to the Jewish of the Peace that's here. Give a big round of applause, please, as we stand against anti-Semitism and our unity. And I want to read out a statement from Scojec, which is the Scottish Council of Jewish Communities, who've always been a supporter of the demonstrations here. Although we at the Scottish Council of Jewish Communities could not be with you today as it's Shabbat, the Jewish Sabbath, we are grateful for the opportunity to convey our shared concerns about the extremely concerning surge in racism and hate speech and politics in our society and online. The normalisation of dangerous language, particularly during this election year, poses a threat to both minority communities and the cohesion we value. Anti-Semitic incidents have increased exponentially in recent months. Islamophobic incidents are soaring. Hate crimes and racist rhetoric are unfortunately escalating. Just last week, the Community Security Trust revealed that anti-Semitism in Scotland and elsewhere is at an all-time high. It is therefore more important than ever that we pledge to working with other minority communities to foster understanding and address these issues. Our commitment remains unwavering and we reiterate our steadfast support for all endeavours aimed at eliminating racial and religious hatred. Together we aspire for a society that is united, inclusive and diverse. Big round of applause for that statement. Okay, our next speaker, and I'm really pleased to be able to welcome them because they are the co-sponsors of this demonstration. It is the Scottish TUC, and I would like you to give a very warm welcome, please, to Linda Somerville, who is the Deputy Secretary of the STUC.
Thanks, Talent, and thank you everybody for the invitation for us to be here today. As Talent says, we are really, really proud that the STUC is a co-sponsor of today's demonstration. It's important for us to be seen to do so. It's important for trade unionists to be here, and I'm delighted to see the banners strewn throughout of all the trade unions that have made the effort to come along here today. If anyone ever wondered why we need to do this and why we need to rally against racism again and again and against hate, then just look at the week we've had. A week where we witnessed a national debate following the publication of the chilling comments by the Tory donor where he said that Diane Abbott should be shot. He apologised, but only because he was exposed for being a vile racist.
Mate, we're proud of what we're doing. Fucking film us.
Yet the debate quickly moved
Like, if we
on.
were worried about it, we'd
From
cover
considering the racist abuse hurled at Diane Abbott, it quickly, the political and media frenzy focused on whether the Tories should give the cash back and whether the Prime Minister would be able to survive the latest blow to his leadership. This appalling story unravelled just weeks after the debate in Parliament scheduled. The debate in Parliament that was about a ceasefire in Gaza turned into a rammy about archaic parliamentary procedures. A tall tale of he said, she said, swiftly became a story of the MPs themselves and concerns for their safety. The plight of people in Gaza, their suffering, was quickly forgotten as we watched the Prime Minister call a special press
Louder, try louder,
to announce
louder.
extremism was a threat
Louder,
to
go
our
on,
democracy.
shout it out.
And now Michael Gove gets to decide who can meet, who can march, who can protest and rally. The unfolding of these events in the last few weeks tell us two things. The first is good news. This Tory government is on its way out. After years of slavery on public sector funding, attacks on the right to protest, to demonstrate and the right to strike. Their time is up and it can't come fast enough. But in this last stretch, they do all that they can to divide us, to find the scapegoats, to point the finger at refugees, asylum seekers, our Muslim brothers and sisters, and anyone who dares speak up for peace. And secondly, it tells us we are being gaslighted, big time. Gaslighted by the media and the political class, who are desperate to hold on to power or desperate to get into power.
Well, don't do it then.
Sets the scene to call protesters extremists and racist attacks are the backdrop to a clampdown on democracy. We are being gaslighted by our own government. Scotland is not immune to racism on our streets and in our workplaces. You stand here today as testament against hate and discrimination. And I ask you to do the same when called to support the campaign for justice for Sheikh Abayu, who died in police custody over 8 years ago in Scotland. We will not rest until Sheikho's family get justice. Never has it been more important for us to gather, march and protest. Never has it been more important for the media, the public and politicians to see and hear that Scotland has an anti-racist movement. And never has it been more important for us to stand shoulder to shoulder in solidarity with individuals and communities under attack to end the racism and end the hate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Linda. Okay, everyone, we're now going to be assembling for our march. We've got the Stand Up to Racism banners, refugees welcome here at the very front. We want to have refugee communities who are going to be leading the demonstration, the people that have come here from Erskine. We also want to invite the trade unionists to come up, please, to start forming here, and we will start our march to the Home Office. Everyone.
It's so funny. It's a bit comical. It is, isn't it? It's a good story for the paper.
Where are we?
What?
Are we going to be kettled?
I don't know. I mean, if you don't walk together, you can walk up and down.